Good morning and welcome back to our third Anchored in the Word morning reflection, and hope that your week's going great. And we're at the middle point of the week, so we've gotten two behind us and we have two more to go. So let's go ahead and dig into this passage together and find some encouragement for our middle of the week as we focus in on God's goodness and how this passage calls us to reflect on that. And if you remember back to yesterday, I mentioned that the illustration that Christ uses is fascinating because it draws attention to the fact that human authorities are people who are prone to pragmatism. And here's a man, he doesn't fear God. Here's a woman who has really didn't have a lot of power. I mean, she's a widow. She doesn't have money. She doesn't have people that are going to go and speak on her behalf. Yet she does have the ability to persuade by being consistent and asking and asking and asking. And so we talked about how God works through human authorities. Today, we're going to look at the other side, and that is commending God's goodness. So let's go ahead and dig into our Bibles again, Luke chapter 18, and we will read verses 1 through 8 together. It says, "And he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint, saying, There was in a city a judge which feared not God, neither regarded man. And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him, saying, Avenge me of mine adversary. He would not for a while. But afterward he said within himself, Though I fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubleth me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me. And the Lord said, Hear what the unjust judge saith. Shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them? I tell you that he will avenge him speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth?" Now I wanted to emphasize the second part of the illustration. And that second part commends the goodness of God. God is good, and he does what is good when his people pray. And so think about it this way. In verses 6 and 7, he says, Hear or listen to what the unjust judge saith. Shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry unto him night and day, though he bear long with them? I tell you, he will avenge them speedily. I think it's fascinating how he says, listen to the judge and ask yourself this question. The point that Jesus is driving at is that God is a good God and he cares about his people. He's far better than the unjust judge. Hear what he saith. Shall not God? Even the unjust and self-centered judge was willing to pragmatically do good for this woman. And unjust and self-centered people will pragmatically do what is good for others at times. But God isn't unjust. God isn't pragmatic. God is righteous and he is good. In fact, he is entirely good. What he does is far better than what others do for one another. We also see that he has a special care for his children. In verse 7, he says that God will avenge his own elect. And that word elect has the idea these are people that are called out of the world and they are called unto God himself. And so God cares about them. He has a special love for them. Psalm 100 verses 3 and 4, he says, I will praise thee, O Lord, among the people and sing praise among the nations. Your mercy is great above the heavens, and thy truth reacheth unto the clouds. Another passage, Exodus 2, reminds us that when God saw the nation of Israel, he saw their weariness and he heard their groanings. He had compassion on them. It says that the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage and cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. And God heard their groanings and remembered his covenant with Abraham and with Isaac and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. Another passage that shows us the tender compassion of God is Psalm 68. It says that he is a father to the fatherless and a judge of widows, meaning he vindicates them. He is holy in his holy sanctuary. God setteth the solitary in families, and he bringeth out those which are bound with chains. He is a good God. He does what is good. In verse 7, it reminds us that he hears the cries of his people. It says that they cry to him day and night, and he bears long with them. God knows when he's going to move, and he knows the best time to do it. But as God hears the groaning of his people, and he hears their cries for mercy, he's not detached from them. He's not disconnected. He cares. He actually is moved in his heart toward these people. Psalm 72 says, he shall deliver the needy when he crieth, the poor also, and him that hath no helper. He shall spare the poor and the needy, and shall save the souls of the needy. In verse 8, he will deliver his children. He says, I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. God is going to move and act on the behalf of his children as they suffer and as they cry out to him. So what's the implication? The implication for our day today is a simple one. As God's children, we must learn to take our burdens to him rather than carrying them ourselves and allowing fear and anxious thoughts to cripple us. And so I ask you this question today. What do you do with those anxious burdens and the weariness of your soul? Do you groan in your misery, or do you turn to God and pour out your heart to him and trust him to do what is best in your situation according to his timetable? May God help us as his people to turn to him in time of need and to see him work on our behalf. Have a blessed rest of your day, and Lord willing, we will meet again tomorrow as we keep working our way through this text. Bye now.